Are you weighing up whether to choose a responsive, holistic sleep course provider versus a more mainstream sleep training provider to help you achieve your dream of becoming a sleep consultant? Wondering which is right for you? Then don't go away, because I'll be diving into the biggest concern people have about gentle sleep education. If you already know that responsive is the way to go for you, then you can book a call to talk to us about the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program. Just click the link below. I'm Lindsay, and I'm proud to have trained over 600 fabulous professionals through the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program, the most comprehensive evidence-based sleep program for those who want to support families gently with sleep. So, you've decided that you want to train as a sleep coach. That's amazing. But your next big decision is which course provider to choose. You already know that in this day and age, it's not enough to do a short 1 to 2 day course and expect that this will equip you to support a wide range of clients with sleep challenges, some of which may be complex. But you do have lots of options. So why would you choose a holistic approach over a mainstream one? In case you're at the first stage of exploring your options, broadly speaking, you could explore gentle and responsive options like the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program or a mainstream approach to sleep. The mainstream paradigm has been around for a long time and is well established. Most people know about it already, and most course providers teach a mainstream approach to sleep. This means they teach a behaviourist approach. See our earlier video, which breaks down what this means in the video notes below. The behaviourist approach, simply defined, looks to eliminate child behaviours through extinction, i.e. withholding responses. But mainstream approaches also tend to be light on the science of attachment, regulation, emotional availability, child development, and biologically normal feeding behaviours and patterns. They also tend to perpetuate sleep ideas that are not based on evidence, such as prescribing early bedtimes, long naps, wake windows, and drowsy but awake. There's an appeal to having a cookie-cutter approach, I'll admit. You only need to learn about a handful of strategies. You only need to memorise a few set rules about bedtime and nap time. It feels clear and simple. I totally understand that this feels like an option that has ease. But what's the downside? Well, while strict routines can work for a minority of children, for most little ones this just doesn't work, which means parents feel like failures, frustrated and confused, and wondering if there's something wrong with them or their baby or both. These prescriptive strategies are also not culturally sensitive or appropriate on a large scale. They fail to recognise the variability of sleep needs and assume that children will be able to achieve sleep at the upper limit of the average to high sleep need range. That means it's simply unrealistic and sets families up to fail. Prescriptive approach also doesn't feel personal. I can't tell you how many parents have told me that they felt like they had been given a template sleep plan with their child's name cut and pasted into a generic plan that didn't account for individual variables or needs. When they had questions about how to handle a certain scenario or what to do if something wasn't working, they felt like there was no answer. And last but not least, many parents report that a mainstream approach to sleep involves crying. Lots of crying, and more to the point, a focus on ignoring their instinct to respond to the crying. Now, while crying is just one way of communicating, and it's not realistic to think that children will never cry, leaving a child alone in distress is something that most parents would rather avoid if possible. More and more parents are asking for gentle options. They know about the importance of responsiveness. They increasingly are realistic about the realities of nighttime parenting, thanks to more and more influencers who are willing to be authentic and honest about their experiences on social media. They aren't necessarily looking for a quick fix or a promise of unbroken sleep at an early age at any cost. More parents than ever before are looking for a middle ground. And yet, the vast majority of sleep consultants are still trained to offer sleep support in a mainstream behaviourist way. They aren't equipped to handle an approach to sleep that is neither cry it out nor wait it out. So this is where our approach is fundamentally different and offers a middle ground. We don't teach behaviorism. Holistic, in a nutshell, means whole. It means we don't just look at sleep, we look at everything. We explore the impact of relationships, regulation, stress, mental health, physical well-being, play, development, feeding, all the things. We teach our students which levers to pull and dials to turn to make big changes to the whole child and family, rather than focusing in a simplistic way on sleep strategies. It doesn't mean we don't have sleep strategies. In fact, we have loads of them. We just don't believe that sleep strategies are all you should be looking at, and we never ever ask parents to do things that go against their instinct or make them stressed or uncomfortable. So, if so many parents would rather not choose a prescriptive approach that makes them feel conflicted, why is there even a dilemma? For the purpose of balance, let's look at why you wouldn't choose a holistic approach. Well, one of the main objections to a responsive approach is the idea that it might not work, that if you really want a guaranteed outcome, you need something definitive and with proven effectiveness. It's true, discerning parents are looking for results, and as a committed professional with a sound work ethic, you want to know that when you have a paying client, you can deliver strategies that meet their needs and get everyone the rest they need, right? Perhaps you're thinking, well, gentle is all well and good, but my experience tells me that people don't just want to be told that they're doing great and this too shall pass. They want and need more sleep. That's why they hired you. You're worried that gentle options boil down to waiting it out rather than addressing the sleep crisis at hand. And that's understandable. After all, the reason you're interested in supporting families with sleep is that you understand what extreme sleep deprivation can do. Perhaps you've been there yourself. The last thing you want to do is invest in a course that doesn't give you actionable ways to dig people out of their sleep crisis. So, first of all, let me say that a responsive approach isn't just another way of telling parents to suck it up. Check out our earlier video on whether it's possible to support the needs of parents as well as children simultaneously. So let's move on to the effectiveness piece. A popular idea is that mainstream sleep training approaches like Cry It Out and controlled crying or FERBA, while acknowledged to be stressful, are widely felt to be the most effective and foolproof way of getting some sleep, and fast. So let's think about whether, in fact, these approaches are fast and foolproof. In terms of speed, a recent study explored sleep training methods among over 2,000 families. The researchers looked at parents who used full Cry It Out, a modified version, so controlled crying, with intermittent reassurance, and a parental presence option, as well as parents who chose not to actively manage their children's sleep. And what happened? Well, first of all, there was no difference in the total amount of sleep that children in any of those 4 groups achieved. So any claim that sleep training is beneficial to little ones because they get more sleep is simply not true. Secondly, there wasn't a meaningful difference in the number of night wakes across any of the groups. In the sleep training group, the number of night wakes was 3.6, and in the parental presence and do nothing group, it was 4.1. Really not a massive improvement to balance the stress, which was reported to be highest in the sleep training groups, unsurprisingly. But what about the speed of improvement? Cry It Out is often reported to just take 3 to 4 days. Really quick, huh? But is it? Well, in this study, the Cry It Out group took over 25 days to see sleep improvements. Just to be clear, that's 25 days of putting a baby to bed, shutting the door, and not re-entering the room at all until morning. The controlled crying group took nearly 32 days. So over a month of returning to reassure a child every few minutes through their crying. What about the parental presence group? This group reported the lowest stress and difficulty, and the trade-off? in time taken, it took this group 43 days to see improvements. So just an extra 10 days compared to the controlled crime group. This matches with what we know about behaviour change more widely, incidentally. It takes most people, including adults, about 6 to 8 weeks to form new habits. Is it really any surprise that the parental presence option took the time that behaviour change psychology theory says it would? Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot slower than I thought, but on balance, is it worth it if it's just a one-time strategy? Essentially, can the stress be justified by long-term effectiveness and stickability? Well, for some children, as with anything, it may be a one-and-done thing. But you don't need me to tell you that for the majority of parents, the sleep training needs to be repeated after a holiday, illness, teething, starting nursery, a new sibling, or whatever. So if sleep training is supposed to teach children to self-soothe and sleep better, why is it that it doesn't stick? Have they actually learned anything long term? We'd argue that it proves two things. First of all, you really can't teach a child to sleep because ultimately this is a normal bodily function. And secondly, you can't teach a child to not need you in the night. This matches hundreds of conversations that I've had with parents over the years. So many people who have told me that they reluctantly tried sleep training, hated it, but did it because they didn't know there were other options. They stuck to the plan, did what they were told to do, but it either took way longer than they thought or it had to be repeated numerous times. That's often when people look for an alternative approach, by the way. So if I'm saying that sleep training isn't all it's cracked up to be, what makes our holistic approach better than that? Well, first of all, we're coming at this from a different angle. We're not trying to teach children to fall asleep. We start from the premise that sleep is a normal biological function, and when we truly understand the nuance and complexity of all the factors that influence our ability to get calm and fall asleep, we improve sleep, yes, but we also improve well-being, regulation, relationships, and address underlying factors getting in the way of restorative sleep. That's the kind of progress that sticks. With this approach, not only are you supporting parents to improve sleep without deviating from their parenting goals and priorities, but you're also identifying multiple factors that might be the root cause of the sleep drama. Plus, you're optimizing family life and strengthening relationships along the way. It's an empowering approach that puts parents in the driving seat to set their own goals and define their own success. And it feels great to be part of. But one last concern that some people have. By not using non-responsive approaches at all, are we taking tools out of your toolbox? Well, yes and no. It's true, we don't advocate for using those strategies at all, so you could say we're taking those tools away. But when we look at how effective these tools are in the real world, are they really something that's worth keeping hold of? If parents don't like these approaches, they don't work as fast as people say they do, and they don't stick, then is this a functional tool? Or is it like a broken hammer? Broken tools don't need to stay in your toolbox when we can replace them with 10 other more effective ones which serve both you and your clients better. So today I've covered the main concerns people have when they're considering working on sleep in a new way. Stepping out of the familiar and doing something different can feel scary at first, but today I've summarised what mainstream sleep training leaves out, why this doesn't serve families, and what the alternative is. If this has resonated and you'd love to be part of the solution for confused families looking for sustainable, gentle sleep solutions, then we would love to hear from you. The first step is to book a call and see if we're a good fit. All you need to do is click the link below this video. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you soon.